Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the Live at 8 with all of us at Cornash. And as always, as I had promised, today we have come up with a very interesting topic. Yes, food and mental health. How food affects our emotions, what we do with food. It's just not about consuming food and learning. So we will go around our panel today and talk about it throughout this month. Every Wednesday at 8, we will be talking about food and its relation to mental health. So over to you, Pragati.
Thank you, Devlina. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us at 8 p.m. today. We have come up with this series just to remove some of the stigma which is associated with mental health. People think that there has to be something seriously wrong with you when you tap into your mental health or start handling it. But actually, it's one of the easiest things, Our mental health, our food, our body, they are all very closely interlinked together. So, we have a very nice panel today, and all of us will be talking about whatever is our experience with food or what is our strategy when it comes to handling mental health with food. So, I hand it over to you, Alka. We start off with you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alka Loya, and we are here today to discuss food and mental health. So today we are just talking. We're just giving it a light touch, and we're just talking about our experiences with food. For me personally, I would vouch by the saying that the way to a person's heart is through their stomach, and I totally vouch for it because I am a total foodie. I come from a foodie family, and I'm married into a foodie family, and we are all food obsessed in the sense you can imagine. We are eating one meal and already deciding where our next meal will be. So for me, my journey with food, I've been lucky that I've never had a weight problem. I've always eaten what I wanted to until recently when I started suffering from IBS. So this irritable bowel system has taken its toll on me, but now I take each day as it comes. I've learned to live with it, and it's not been so bad. So that's with me. So I ask Manju to take over and share her experiences. Manju, please unmute.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Manju Pachisia from Cornash. So, food and mood, these words, they rhyme together, and of course, they mean a lot. If you eat good food, if you have healthy food habits, most of the time it has got a positive impact on your mental health. But it's not necessarily so that's only eating good food or healthy food, is the key to it. There are a lot of other factors. But as my friend beautifully said, the physical, mental, spiritual, all the angles, of mental health, they all are woven together beautifully. You just can't, chop off one and you say, I can do with the two, both. You need to have all three, things in place. So I'll talk today about my experiences with food. Just share a little bit. Sometimes it's a coping mechanism. Sometimes I have many a times I have eaten not because I was hungry. I've eaten just because maybe I was exhausted, maybe I was depressed, maybe I was sad, maybe I was feeling lonely. So my hand was going towards a bag full of chips, all the junk food, whenever, most of the time, whenever we are eating for emotional eating, not for the sake of physical hunger, we tend to go for the food which are high in sugar, which have lots of saturated fats, and we just mindlessly eat. So emotional eating is a coping mechanism, essentially. We need to we find it as a solace. Ultimately, the cycle is really bad. The cycle is bad that I am sad, I am feeling lonely, I don't have no one, I don't have anyone to talk to. I think I'll eat something and I'm okay. But what happens after that one packet of chips or one ice cream pack, you feel so guilty that your problem is still there. Problem is not fixed, and still you are guilty and you are shameful that you have eaten, you have overeaten, you have eaten something wrong. Being a diabetic, I know it. The food, the which produces insulin, it has lot to do with our good gut health. Sugar is something which is something we always reach out for. Sugar cravings are something we just reach out for something and to feel good. The sudden rush is really good, but later on you really feel really bad, really low. So when we talk about food and mood, of course, the brain and our second brain, which sits in our gut, in our GI tract, little bit medical terms I'm using because I have been through that journey. So that produces a lot of, neurotransmitters. Again, a very technical term, not so technical, but they are a good, they are the messengers, small little messengers which send signals to our brain. So if I am eating something healthy, so there is a very good production of these neurotransmitters. 99% of our gut health, actually depends on how the inflammation is, how good bacteria we are producing. So if I'm eating healthy food, my brain is getting a good signal. I can think very loud, I can think very clear. So I'm in a very good and positive mood. And whereas when I'm eating something which is full with sugar, full with fat, and full something which is not right for me, or something which is not a good comes into a good under good healthy nutritious diet, the bacteria growth is slow. There is a sugar is actually, it causes inflammation in our GI tract, and then my production of the bacteria, it goes for a toss, and I don't feel good. So of course, 100%, there is a straight relation between our food and our mood. So I feel, to have a few questions, comes to my mind. When you are emotional eating, you can check on yourself. Am I eating because of hunger? Am I eating too much when I am stressed? Do I overstuff myself? Am I hungry after a full meal? These are 4 5 questions which I have generalized, and they have helped me a lot. I have worked on them, and I realized that I am eating not because of physical hunger. I am eating food as a coping mechanism. So that's my take on it. Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing, Manju. That was very informative. And I wish all our guts cooperated like yours. Because for some of us, when you feel hungry, you want to reach out for that ice cream or your brownie, and that gives comfort and relaxation to the brain like nothing else. So thank you for sharing your experience. And yes, Alka, you have something to say?
Yeah, in reference to what Manju was saying, I just remembered that there is a direct relation between the brain and the gut. So, when we are very stressed, we tend to get an upset stomach. And also, when we have an upset stomach, we can't, focus on certain activities, or we get very stressed out. So, I agree with her wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Ashna, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I just feel that sitting with a swollen face with Oreo stuffed is much better than just sitting with an swollen face. So definitely food is comfort for most of us, and everyone has their own connection with food. A lot of people these days are into healthy eating, which is good, but then at the same time, I feel now a lot of people are treading the line. There is suddenly also an obsession with healthy eating. So I think it's just for us to realize where to draw a line. It's okay if you're not finding that same quality of food at each and every place you go. And it's still okay to have one junk meal a day or whatever, however it works for you. But then this obsession is something that needs to be checked on. And at the same time, I feel that people have these carb cravings at specific times during the day. For me, usually in the afternoons, like between 3 to 5, is when I most crave for sugar. So what I realized is that if you're eating well, and if you're properly full and hungry and not obsessing over a certain diet, these cravings also don't happen. And a lot of times it's okay to take a little bite of chocolate, as long as it's little and good, it's good for you. Food, like minding over food, helps you mind over yourself. So food directly helps your mind. It feeds your soul, very rightly pointed out. And yeah, a lot of people who obsess with food, there's a term which has come up. I not officially recognized, called orthorexia, where people do not focus on the quantity of food, rather they focus on the quality of food. So wherever you're going, you go with the thought of the kind of food that you're. So now that has to, that is something that people need to watch out for, because since everyone has been in a lockdown, everyone has been binging. There are two kinds of people that I have come across: people who have really eaten a lot and people who have worked out a lot and are in the best shapes. And then there is us. So that's what I feel.
Thank you so much for sharing, and that was very honest and from the heart. And over to you, Hima. What is your opinion about food and mental health?
Um, there's this new emerging field nowadays coming up, which is like a nutrition psychology. Like being counselors, nowadays we feel like a change in a nutrition plan can go very well in hand with a therapy if a person who's in need is taking. It'll help in his mental health, physical health, spiritual health in every way. So generally we look at cravings as behavioral problems, ki it's adat hai, I like having every day in the evening. But actually, deep down, these are genuine biological issues. Like there has to be like some kind of, they may be hormonal imbalance inside, or some kind of, these cravings come from these imbalances. Like for instance, for example, I'll say in this lockdown, very strangely, I was having craving for having spicy food, which I've not had in a long, long time. I thought if I'll have once and it'll be okay, but I realized it went for a long time. And then eventually I realized it was because of thyroid imbalance in my body, and then I researched on it. Like taking the discussion forward by Manjuji and Alka, our gut health, it affects our mental health in a big way. Again, being associated with thyroid from past many years, I have realized going gluten free in the last 6 8 months have really given boost to my mental health in the way my brain. I used to suffer from brain fog in the last 2 years, and while studying it used to really hamper my like every day-to-day business. I used to experience a lot of brain fatigue or body fatigue too. But cutting down on gluten in the last 6 8 months has really helped me. I have not felt so much brain alert or so much concentration in the last 6 8 months. I've never faced had it in the last 4 5 years. So I'm all for gluten free, especially for thyroid people. And people have to check. Like what I'm trying to insist here is ki all these years I never knew that I had a gluten intolerance. This research is still like coming up. People still don't know about it. So I hope if I can put it across here, so people who are in need, maybe get them checked and try and change their diet and see if they feel better, if from change of diet. Back to you, Pragati.
Thank you for sharing, Hima. That was very informative. So, as we all have been seeing, food and mental health, while there are some scientific norms which are universally true, what each one of us can do is explore our own relationship with food. And while scientific data works, what's really, really important is getting hold of all the information and then seeing how it works for you. Anything you would want to add, Devlina?
The thing is, see, the purpose with which we started off today and this whole month of talking about food and mental health is you can be overeating, you can be starving yourself, you can be bulimic, you can have other eating disorders, you can have other ailments which trigger your eating patterns. But in all of this, there are two, three factors to keep in mind. One is what is triggering it. You're stuffing yourself or you're starving yourself. You're obsessing about it, you're drooling over it. All of those behaviors related to food or in and around food. Now, as helping professionals, what do we look at? Be it our own selves, be it other people, we look at our behavior. If we look at that, we have to find that we need to understand ourselves. There are certain things that get triggered in our head, which leads us to certain behavior. So what is that trigger around food? That if we could highlight on, I think that would bring out the hidden or the suppressed reason for our doing what we do with food. So over to you, Pragati.
Thank you for sharing, Devlina. Shrutika, would you like to tell us about your relationship with food?
Yeah, sure. I love chocolates, and I've heard chocolate increases the good hormones, that is dopamine, endorphins, etc. But for me, chocolates, ice creams, they're all comfort food. Somewhere in the subconscious, my memory of chocolates go back to my happy childhood moments, when I've been pampered or a treat. So whenever I feel low, I feel that is the reason I'm looking out for chocolates or something like this. And friends, even I think we should all identify our comfort foods, because it really helps. It really helped me during COVID, at least. When I'm feeling low, that little piece of chocolate doesn't harm. Just calling for a small scoop of ice cream or chocolate, if it can help you deal with some crisis, some sad moment, so why not? And I think we should all identify our comfort food. COVID will soon be over, but this identification will always be with us, to make us feel happy. This is what I feel. Yeah, thanks.
True, I can totally identify with Shrutika here. See,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Like, we, as much as we want to say that, I am okay or I have a decent relationship with food, I think food is something, if we are blatantly honest, people have a complex relationship with food.
Yeah.
Each one of us have a complicated relationship with food. It's like it's that forbidden fruit. We know some things are not good, or that particular thing is not meant for us, but out of 10 times, how many times are we actually able to say no to it? Again, I'm going back to people who are starving, people who are overstuffing, people who are purging, people who are doing all kinds of things, guilt tripping themselves. So over to you,
chocolate for me, but for somebody else, for you to be puchkas or something healthy also, like cheese. Different people have different types of comfort food.
I think I would like to add here that one question, I think, as you said, you need to introspect and you need to find your relationship with food, Devlina. Is food my soulmate? Whenever I feel anything, do I just reach out for food? I think that one question gives a lot of answers. Because if food is my soulmate, that means, yes, somewhere I'm feeling deep down, there is something in me which is making me eat something, all the time when I'm not even hungry also. So defining your relationship with food is most important for each one of us.
I agree, Manju, because we all have our association with food. If we just go a little bit inwards, you'll remember, how we justify it. It's raining, the weather's good, chai pakori ho jaye, today I'm in the mood for a pizza. Like Shrutika said, she loves chocolate. Somebody might like puchkas. I've grown up in and around Park Street, so all, flurries and all the junk food that I've eaten there, that's my comfort go-to food. I think in COVID, that's what I was missing where food was concerned. So we all have our associations. We have, even when we are feeling low, a little bit of coffee or a good cappuccino perks us up.
Absolutely. I think history has proven that we have so many mood enhancers, the food has mood enhancers. There's so many food, some which really, puts you in a very good mood, So I'm not remembering the names of the term, aprosodic. I think any of you must be knowing that. Some foods are called that,
Yes.
Yeah, there's a term for that, aprosiadics or something.
Right. We all have food which are mood uplifters.
Right. Anybody else wants to put in a word?
I just want to say, Devlina, initially what you said, it always starts from our younger days, from our childhood. Like again, what Alka was saying, in this COVID scene, I went back to Maggie. It was like once in 10 days, because probably the day you want to pamper yourself, probably when you can't find your mother around, but you want to feel the thing that somebody is pampering you. So you just, cook Maggie for yourself, and you feel pampered.
माँ नहीं तो मैगी ही सही. Okay, so we'll wrap up the conversation today. Now, the moral of the story, the reason why we are stressing on this whole thing is because we want to talk to you all more and more about the guilt associated with it. So a word from each one of you before we part is, I would like to talk about the guilt associated with it. I would like to talk about however it is, whatever it is, tackle the guilt. It's not the end of the world. It's not your last meal on earth. It's not like, it's not something so grave. If you have done something wrong, if you have punished your body anyhow by starving it, by overfeeding it, by doing all kinds of things, please understand that it's okay.
True.
There's always get trapped.
Thank you,
I
Devleena.
would like to say we like to redefine our relationships. We need to keep on working constantly on our relationship with food, at every point of life, at every stage of life. We just need to redefine it.
Thank you, Manju. Shrutika, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I've said my bit. When I'm on a diet, then if I indulge, I feel guilty. Otherwise, I don't feel guilty really eating. So definitely when I'm on a diet and a healthy eating spree, if I indulge, then of course the guilty pangs are there. Otherwise, I love food. I'm a foodaholic.
Thank you. Hima,
Thank
any
you.
last words?
Something similar. I have not felt really, really bad about it. Some days I've felt guilty a bit, of overeating or something. Then I'm like, okay, tomorrow will be a new day, start again. I try not to be a slave to my cravings, but yeah, definitely listen to my cravings.
Thank you. Ashna?
As long as I don't check my weight, I don't really care. I'm happy eating whatever I feel like eating. And I usually try and somehow if I feel that I've really overfed myself, I compensate it with a healthy meal the next day or whatever. But then I enjoy my food. Whatever I eat, little more, I like it.
Thank you. Alka?
Yeah, I try to be disciplined, but if I've indulged, it's okay. I quite firmly believe, kindness begins with yourself. Be kind to yourself.
So thank you everyone for coming here today. My take on food is, from the day you are born till the day you will die, you need food. So might as well have a good, easy relationship with you. Ultimately, it's you, your body, and the food you eat. And if you are focused on your own self-development and growth, you know what works for you. When is it that you need to indulge yourself? When is it you need to be a little bit more careful? But the idea is, food is our best friend, not an enemy which has to be persecuted or weighed, in terms of calories and blah, blah, blah. So while, of course, we will take you on a more scientific journey throughout the month, we would just want you to start thinking about what is your relationship with food. What do you think about food in general? Is it just for nutrition? Is it to have a perfect body? Or is it actually the source of nourishment that is there for you to, hold your mind, body, and all your aspirations together? So that is my take on food and mental health. And over to you now, Devleena.
Great. It was great insights. Thank you so much, each one of you, for agreeing to come in such a short notice. And I'm sure our conversation today will help people open up about it a lot more. This is something that I think worldwide people are going through, are dealing with, but we don't talk about it. As if almost putting in the basic food that you need is also a crime. So with that, we are wrapping up today's talk with an open invite to anybody who wishes to come on Zoom with us for the next couple of weeks. This month, throughout every Wednesday at 8, we will be talking about more of food and mental health. And anybody who wishes to speak about their own journey of it, please, you're most welcome. get in touch with us individually. Thank you. See you. Stay safe.